everybody, how's it going? And welcome to my review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the 9th film written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. Now, before I get stuck into my review, I just want to quickly say, look, if you guys appreciate my channel, if you're watching this and you like what you see, if you don't mind, go down and hit that subscribe button, because a lot of my traffic comes from people who haven't subscribed to my channel. So, yeah, look, I'd really appreciate it. It would really help me out, and that's all I've got to say. So this is the 9th film written and directed by Mr. Tarantino, and it stars Leonardo DiCaprio as Rick Dalton, a kind of a washed-up 50s TV series star who was a big celebrity, but his career is kind of tanking. He's hitting the bottle pretty hard and trying to keep his name afloat. In the meantime, we've got Brad Pitt playing Cliff Booth, who is Rick Dalton's stunt double slash best friend slash carer. This guy's sort of gone from just being his stunt double to basically doing everything. He's his driver, his housekeeper, lots of things. And rounding off the leads, we've got Margot Robbie as famous actress Sharon Tate, who, if you know your history, was unfortunately murdered by members of the Manson family. So this film is essentially a love letter to 60s cinema, to the golden age of Hollywood. It's kind of a mixed bag. It's one of these films that is a real journey to go through. Not only do we follow Rick Dalton's career and, you know, his friendship with Cliff, but everything ties into this subplot involving the Manson family. And I'm not going to give any spoilers, obviously, but I really want to talk about the ending of this movie. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to review the movie spoiler-free. Once I've given it a score and said goodbye, I'm then going to get stuck into some spoilers because I need to talk about the ending of this movie. So look, this film is up there with Tarantino's best works. It is freaking brilliant. Just visually, this movie is stunning. The production design in this film is out of this world. You know, the way that they have recreated 60s Hollywood, you know, all the streets, not just from the cars, but billboards and everything. There's some scenes where you see cars driving along and, you know, the camera sort of follows them along and just for long takes, and there's just tons of traffic, all these 60s cars. You know, stuff like that cannot be too easy to accomplish. Leonardo DiCaprio was brilliant in this movie. I am pretty sure he's going to get an Oscar nomination for his role in this, because not only did he play this kind of washed up actor, but he also had to play the characters that he was portraying, because there are scenes where we're on set with him during the filming of his movies and things, and so he had quite a lot of range in this film. Margot Robbie was really good. I mean, she's Margot Robbie. But I've got some issues with the way that Sharon Tate was implemented in this film, which I'll get to in a little bit. But the scene stealer for me, the absolute highlight of this film, was Brad Pitt. Man, this is my most favorite role of his since his glory days in the 90s when he was the man. Not just his character, who was just absolutely so lovable, but his performance in this, he was so freaking cool. When you think of 90s Brad Pitt in movies like Seven and Legends of the Fall and 12 Monkeys and everything that he did, like, he was always so freaking cool. It was the kind of guy that when guys go to see his movies, you walk out kind of wanting to be him and just, you know, giving up knowing that you never will be. But this time around, it was that exact same kind of thing. You know, his character was just so incredibly charismatic and the portrayal was just amazing. Some of his lines of dialogue were fantastic and hilariously funny. There were some really genuinely funny moments in this film. Oh, and another performance that I've really got to commend was the little girl that you've seen in the trailers and stuff, Julia Butters. She had a smallish role in the film, but it was kind of pivotal. But my freaking God, look out for this kid, because one day she is going to be up there come awards time grabbing a trophy. She was a knockout. And the supporting cast in this film was massive. I mean, there were so many people. There was some actors I didn't even recognize. You know, I saw their names in the credits, and I was like, Rebecca Gayheart was in this film. Like, where? But we had the likes of Luke Perry in his final ever movie role, so that was kind of sad. Al Pacino, one of the greatest actors of all time, was in this, and even though his role was also small, yeah, again, a really commendable performance. But we also had people like Martin Kove from Karate Kid, Clifton Collins Jr., who I'm a really big fan of, Danielle Harris, who was in a couple of Halloween films. Like, there were just tons of people in this movie. But one of the things I really loved about it is that you could tell it was a Tarantino film in so many ways. A lot of the dialogue was that typical Tarantino dialogue. A lot of his cuts and his camera movements, everything was Tarantino. But at the same time, I think it was probably his most mature film in terms of him as a filmmaker. It did feel like a Tarantino film, but at the same time, it felt like something a little beyond that. I mean, the movie does go for nearly 3 hours, but yeah, honestly, it went like that. It was just such an enjoyable film to experience, and I didn't find there was any dull moments in it. I thought the way that they portrayed the Manson family was really bone-chilling. If you know anything about the Manson family, which I do, like I had read Helter Skelter years ago, and it was just one of the most amazing books I've ever read, but, you know, so horrific. And yeah, a lot of the stuff that they did in this film, they really got it right. So look, while I absolutely loved it, the only things that let it down for me a little bit, okay, so Margot Robbie, yeah, she was great in the film, and obviously it was pivotal to have Sharon Tate in this film to tie it in with the Manson family stuff. But that being said, I thought a character, if you want to call it, even though she was a real person, was used a bit too much. Like, there were just so many scenes in the film where, you know, they really could have cut a lot of her stuff out and it wouldn't have affected the plot in any sort of way. And yeah, this is me sitting here saying that they should have had less Margot Robbie. I don't know what's wrong with me. Not only that, there were a couple of scenes that you could just tell Quentin Tarantino was sitting there writing and just thinking to himself, look, I can put whatever I want on this screen and people are going to love it. There were a couple of scenes that were probably a little bit overindulgent, a little bit too long. There was a scene with DiCaprio and Timothy Olyphant, and where they're filming a scene for this show they're doing, and honestly, I thought it probably went a bit long. Like, there was a purpose for the scene and it was great, but yeah, realistically, it went a bit long. At the same time, though, you know, with Tarantino's films, even though scenes can go a bit long, they're still really compelling and engrossing because his dialogue is so damn good. So yeah, look, if you're a fan of Tarantino, I know you're going to see this movie. But yeah, look, if you're a fan of cinema, you know, if you just have a love of movies like this guy does, go and see this film. It is absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to tell you where I rank it amongst my Tarantino films, because I am going to do a ranking video of all the Tarantino films coming up soon. But in the meantime, despite its little flaws, I absolutely loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm going to be buying it the day it comes out. I'll probably see it a couple more times at the movies, and I'm going to give Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a 9 out of 10. Yeah, this was definitely going to be up there with my most favorite movies of this year. Even though there are some movies that scored higher, like, this is one of my absolute favorites. So yeah, I loved it to death. If you guys have seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I would love to know what you thought of it. And here comes the spoiler stuff. Yes, I am going to have to talk about the end of this movie because it's really important to me. So if you don't want to know anything about it, bye for now. I'll catch you next time. But for those of you who want to stick around, here we go. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, look, the whole Manson family era, or whatever you want to call it, really fascinates me. From reading Helter Skelter, I then went on to read a whole bunch of books about it and everything. Like, I'm really into this stuff in a big, big way. So this movie, yeah, it was kind of important to me. You know, it was amazing seeing Spahn's movie ranch recreated. I've seen photos of it and stuff, but in this movie, getting to actually kind of be there, like, and imagine what it was like, because from what I've heard, it was fairly well recreated. But, you know, when you're getting towards the ending of the movie where Manson family members are approaching the house on Cielo Drive, and believe me, that stuff was just bone-chilling. I did go into this, unfortunately, because the movie's been out overseas for so long now. I did go into it kind of knowing that Tarantino had changed history in the end. But yeah, when you see them approaching the house, like, it was really chilling stuff. But then, of course, that whole ending, you know, when they end up going to Rick Dalton's house and Cliff Booth and his dog just wails on these people. And my God, it was hardcore violent. But, oh man, I couldn't have thought of better people to exact that violence upon, because seriously, I'm sitting there and I just loved every single splat of faces on mantelpieces and you know, everything that was going on with them. The flamethrower bit, the whole audience, you could just hear people sort of quietly clapping, like everyone wanted to break out. But you know, that to me was just so satisfying to watch, watching these horrible, evil people. Because, you know, I mean, Sharon Tate was 8.5 months pregnant when she was killed. It was just such a tragedy. And like, I've seen photos and things from the crime scene, like, you know, and they're not pretty to look at. And so to me, that tragedy always kind of, you know, I kind of carried it with me in a way. And that very ending, when you see all of them alive and they invite Rick Dalton in and everything, man, I was tearing up, seriously, when, you know, because it's so bittersweet. Like, you know, that's not how it ended, but I just love the fact that Tarantino did that. You know, it was nice in a way, but, you know, then your brain kind of switches back into reality mode. It's like, oh man, yeah, that's not how it went down. And while we're in spoiler territory, I just want to address the Bruce Lee scene that is so controversial. Like, you know, a lot of people are saying that the version of Bruce Lee in this film was disrespecting Muhammad Ali by saying, you know, stuff about Cassius Clay. But what I saw tonight, like, he was actually praising Cassius Clay and saying, you know, what an amazing athlete he is and all that sort of stuff. Like, yeah, I get the Bruce Lee character in this was kind of arrogant and everything. But as far as the Muhammad Ali stuff goes, yeah, I don't know what version other people were seeing, but that's not what I saw. But anyway, that's the spoiler stuff I wanted to talk about. Yeah, mainly the ending of the film, which I just loved so freaking much. Yeah, seeing those people just getting what they deserved. Yeah. But anyway, that being said, that is me talking about that. So yes, absolutely love the film. Love to know what you guys thought of it. Drop me some comments either here, Facebook or Twitter. All the social media links are in the description below, because I like to talk about movies and I would love to talk about movies with you. Catch you next time.
Click subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest movie reviews. Skynet will be taking over any day now, so what have you got to lose? Nyah.